Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley. And my guests tonight are from Home Base. Home Base is an organization that's out of Boston.
Yep.
You represent Mass General Hospital as well as the Red Sox Foundation.
We're a partnership between those
Partnership
two
between them.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they help out brain injured as well as other injuries for veterans and their families.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to right down to it. We got Rich, Julie, and Nick. Okay, so we'll get started. I was going to read it. Since they founded in 2009, Home Base is a partnership with the Red Sox Foundation, Mass General Hospital, and has been breaking new ground, leading regional and national efforts with a multidisciplinary team of experts working together to help service members, veterans, and their families heal from the invisible wounds, traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, and related conditions. I won't get any further, but this seems to be, we've had a lot of wars over the years, but it seems that this one, since we've been into the war on terror, we've had more problems with brain injuries and PSI than anything else. Not, I know we had in other past wars, but it seems more so now. And it's probably because of the type of war we're fighting now. It's not World War II was simple in a lot of ways. You took the ground and you held it. Korea, somewhat the same, and ended up with dividing back at the 38 parallel for both sides, went back to what they originally were. Vietnam, a lot different. We took ground, but then you'd lose it again the next day. It was more of a guerrilla war. And this war seems even more so of a guerrilla war than that. And I don't know if anybody will tell you that they've been to Afghanistan or Iraq, that you don't know when you're walking down the street, even though we might supposedly control the city, you still aren't safe. So it's a lot more stress on an individual out there.
It's more unconventional warfare.
Yes.
I think too in society we've kind of broken down the stigmas to PTSD too, and
Yes, that's
it's a
another
little
thing.
bit easier now for people to open up and ask for help. I don't know if it was less prevalent then, but I feel like it's something more people understand and more people are willing to look for help.
You know what was prevalent? There was a movie made after World War II, Homecoming. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
I'm not.
It's about three guys come back from World War II, and what they went through. One of them had been in the Navy and lost both his arms in a fire. And this guy actually did. He was a Navy veteran who had lost his arms. He starred in the movie. Had to learn to live with artificial, and back then those were claws.
Yeah.
And another one had PSI, and I forget what the third one had. But they all had problems from being in combat for so long. So it was prevalent. It happened after the Civil War. The Civil War had a lot of people commit suicide. They had a lot of problems, even after the Revolutionary War. So, World War I. It's always been there, but now, probably because this war has lasted so long, we're seeing more of it. And we're seeing different groups all the time. It started with Vietnam. You went to Vietnam, you served for a year, and you got out.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing guys that are serving longer. They're doing tours, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot different. And like you say, we're more aware of it too. So what do you actually do now to help them out?
Yeah, so like you said, we're located in Boston. We're actually in Charlestown. We do have a regional outpatient clinic, so those who are local and can travel into Boston, they can receive their care there at home base. So they come twice a month, once a month, whatever it is. They're close enough to do our outpatient clinic, but we also have a 2-week intensive clinical program. So that's open up to people all over the country. We've actually flown in people from Japan, Germany, so all over.
They actually stay at your facility.
There's a hotel that's about 4-minute walk away. We pay for the transportation, the meals, everything to
Wow.
get there.
Isn't the VA hospital near there?
I think there's one pretty
Jamaica
close by.
Plain.
Yes, that was
Yep.
probably the closest one I was thinking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
still not too far. I mean, you can get there by transit,
Right.
Mhm.
but, so it's gonna be pretty costly to do all that. So there's the number one thing is, you gotta raise funds.
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, I know you're sponsored by Mass General and the Red Sox Foundation,
Correct.
but somebody's gotta bring the funds up. I mean, I'm sure they give you something, but you do raise your own on your own too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we're mostly based by philanthropy, and we
Uh-huh.
also have large events like the Run to Home Base, which Rich will also talk about his experience with that. I actually do not remember the specific statistics of the money that we bring in for this event, but we do raise a lot of money for that, from that, I should say. Not sure if you can enlighten the
Yeah,
numbers.
about annually it's about 2 million that we
Oh,
bring
wow,
in.
that's pretty, yeah, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, we operate 85% off philanthropic donations. So
Well, I know Rich is fairly close to us. He was in Oxford.
Yes.
You're from Boston area.
I actually live about 40 minutes north of here.
Oh, really?
I do.
Whereabouts?
Lunenburg?
Oh, I know Lunenburg very well.
Okay, yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I live. Yep.
Used to have the Whalen Park out there.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that.
Right.
I've only lived there for 2 years, but I have
Ah.
heard of the
That's
Whalen
where all the
Park.
condos are now.
Yes, it is. Yep, right there on that little lake there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, are you from that area too?
I am born and raised in Worcester.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Now I live in the Wachusett Mountain area.
Oh, all right. Our DPW director's from
Okay.
Princeton.
Yep. That's exactly where I am from.
And that's
Oh,
the town I grew up in.
Living in.
Yeah.
And Rich is from Oxford.
Yeah, and I grew up in Princeton.
Oh!
A lot of Princeton
Reversed here.
connection.
It's kind of interesting. I will talk about how I got involved.
Yes, that's what I
Um,
want to, I'd like to know about the home run, home run base, or run to.
Run to home base.
Run to home
Yes.
base.
So what first got me started, I've had this website, Images of New Hampshire History, and I photograph Welcome to signs, historical markers, and veterans memorials. And the Veterans Memorial page has always been the most visited. And because living in Oxford, I can't always get to New Hampshire, I thought, well, why don't I create a Massachusetts veterans page? And so I've been doing it for about a year. And I wasn't involved in home base. My employer, Technical Communications Corporation in Concord, they've been at it for about 8 years now. And so they asked me, and I said, well, I'm a little on the shy side, knocking on doors. So at first I wasn't going to do it. But then Memorial Day of last year, I got a lot of visitors to my page for the Veterans Memorials on different towns. Clinton, I got 100 likes on certain memorials. So I said to our company president, maybe I can do this. So that's what got me started. But as I've been going from town to town, I've got about 75 towns photographed now. The town that I grew up in, Princeton, I noticed in their town square, they had a granite bench, to all veterans, but there wasn't your typical granite Civil War or Hall of Honor Roll. So I contacted one of the selectmen, and she said that about 10 years ago, their town manager, Dennis Rindone, had created, when he retired, it was his mission to go out every morning and go through every town. And he wanted to do a table book about veterans memorials in Massachusetts. And he completed his mission, but unfortunately he passed away before the book was published.
Oh,
The website he had isn't there anymore because nobody maintained it. So I just thought it was really interesting that, not knowing of him, that, I'm kind of following in his footsteps from the same town.
wow.
So it's kind of interesting.
There's a large amount of monuments out there, even in
Yeah.
every town.
Yeah.
That is quite a task to take on.
And some of them, I like to drive from town to town and just come upon them, but, every once in a while, it's a little better to Google, because some of them are outside, some of them are inside, like a town hall,
Yes.
and so it's like hunting.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Civil War was such a devastating war for the nation that I think every town has some kind of monument for the Civil War, because every town had great losses. We actually had a Medal of Honor winner from the Civil War in Northbridge.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, that's a tough one, because you don't know where, some of them are in the town halls and
Yeah.
some are out in the open. I think and then World War I again. We actually have two World War I monuments. We have one down here in Rockdale, and
Yes, get
this
that
was the
one.
parochialism in some of the towns because of the villages. The one down here represents the villagers from this part of town that went to World War I. There's another one in Whitensville that represents the ones that went to war from Whitensville. The Linwood Village lost out. Same with the World War II. There was actually a monument in Linwood section of town for World War II veterans with all their names listed. It was made of wood. Eventually, it deteriorated, and they tore it down. And there was a movement by the Soldiers Memorial Committee to try and erect it over again, but they can't find what names were on there. They were trying to find out if someone had a picture or something with all the names so we could do it. Down in the Riverdale section of town, where there was another mill, there was a World War II monument. Here again, it was made of wood, deteriorating. The man who bought the Riverdale mill and rejuvenated it, Jim Knott, actually put up a new monument out of granite with all the names.
Oh, good.
But if he hadn't done that, it wouldn't have happened.
Wow. I mean, the greatest satisfaction about the veterans page is when I posted on a certain town,
Right.
and the comments that you get. You know, there's my grandfather's name. There's my uncle's name.
Yeah.
I recently, my son and I went up to New Hampshire, and I've got probably about 100 towns in New Hampshire done so far. But there's a town in Franklin, and the community spirit is just amazing. I walked into their public library, and they had a plaque with the photographs of, I think it was 12 servicemen who didn't come back from World War
Right.
II. So I took photographs and put a photo of each soldier and put it on the Franklin, New Hampshire website. And the comments were just amazing. Like, there's the uncle I never knew. There's my grandfather. It's just, you know.
Yeah, that's the other thing that takes place, because, well, of course, a lot of the families moved out, and they lost track of the town that, you know, the family might have started out in. But in New England, there's so many mill villages, it makes it a lot more complicated, I'm sure. But let's get into your run to home base. What actually is that about?
So again, you know, my company's been at it for about 8 years. I think we just had our 10-year anniversary, right?
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And so I started it, like I said, 2 years ago, and it was my first time. And so you try to obtain sponsors,
Yeah.
who, you know, people who sponsor you from $5 to $100, and you have a goal to meet. It's usually about $600, and so you try to gain as many sponsors as you can up until the day of the race. Some people run it, some people walk it. I'm a walker.
How many K?
We have a 5K and a 9K option.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was nice. Coming from a small town, Princeton, I'm not, you know, very comfortable, you know, in cities. I don't go into Boston very often, but they closed down like all the streets, you know, of the run path. So I was very comfortable.
So this takes place in Boston?
Yeah.
It does.
Yes, it
Yeah,
actually begins and finishes at Fenway Park.
Oh, okay. I think I heard about that.
You
So
cross
the
home
mayor is
plate.
there, the governor is there.
Yeah.
They have a home-based speaker, someone who's been through the program. The general in charge, what was his name?
General Hammond?
Hammond, right, who was in charge of the whole organization. We've got, let me see, the sports announcer for the Red Sox. I can't recall his name offhand.
Oh.
Certain people from Channel 5.
Yeah.
So that beginning ceremony is very moving. We had an individual who had been through the program. And, you know,
You think of Jerry Remy? He's a color. I forget who the other announcer is.
yeah, offhand, I forgot what his name is.
TC, I believe it is.
I'm
goes
not,
by
I'm a
TC.
Patriots fan, but
Yeah.
not a,
So, the individual that had been through the program, and you talk about, you know, in Vietnam and wars of past that people still are living through. Originally, the home-based program was for veterans of Afghanistan, Iraq, but last year they opened it up to all
2017, we opened it to all
to all
service
veterans,
members.
yeah. Because there's still, you know, Vietnam veterans that are still living through it.
well, that was 50 years ago almost.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That-
I mean,
that doesn't
I
go
know the
away.
experience. I mean, you came home and no big deal. Okay, get back to work, do whatever you were doing. Nobody thought anything of it. There were no parades. Of course, World War II, you had an ending.
Yes,
So when you came home, same with World War I, there was an ending to it. You could come home, you could have a celebration. But there was no end to the Vietnam War. I think it was 1974, I believe. In April of '74, when American troops pulled out. But it was not a big deal. Nobody knew anything, and it was not a victory either. So
yeah.
it made it tough. But I know I had a good friend he came home, and we're out shopping for a car on Shrewsbury Street in Worcester, and we heard this boom, kaboom, and that's what a mortar sounds like. You hit a poof,
Oh, wow.
kaboom,
Oh, yeah.
dove on the ground. It just got back.
Wow.
And that was a natural reaction, and this car salesman looks, I said, hey, you got back from Nam, That's his natural reaction.
Have you visited the Massachusetts Vietnam Veterans Memorial in
Yes,
Green Hill Park?
in Green Hill Park.
Yeah, we just, as a matter of fact, when we left Boston after the home base event, we drove to Worcester because I wanted to photograph that for the longest time. And that was so moving. I've never seen letters from Vietnam engraved in granite like that. And
I tell you, what's truly moving is the wall in D.C. So I went down there, and you have to look at the names aren't in alphabetical order.
no, from year, right?
Right, and you have to look up in a book and you can find them. And when you do see people you knew, because I knew people, it does move you very much. There's something about that. I mean, there's something in the air there. Of course, it goes down,
Yeah.
but there's
Very
just some,
somber.
and you see all the things left by different people, but from packs of cigarettes to a can of beer, it's very moving. It's a very, very tough, it's very hard. But the moving wall does the same thing to you, but not to the extent that does.
Yeah, that came to Amherst, New Hampshire last year.
We had it here in town a few years back.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I
Yeah.
know it just came to Bellingham too.
Yes,
But when it went to Amherst, I got there at 7 in the morning before anybody else got there. And there was like a fog because when you're trying to photograph black granite,
yes.
the reflections are really difficult. So I did, I probably took 100 photographs of that one, and it was amazing.
We got a phone call. Before I take it, though, how about Korea? Those guys wait even longer.
Yeah.
We just got a Korea memorial in Worcester.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so talk about waiting. They really waited. Okay. Go ahead, caller. Oh, wait a minute.
Hello?
Here we go. Okay, now you're on.
Good evening.
Hi, Barry.
I'd like to start off, thanking you, Harry, and the Home Base organization. I think I speak for legions of Americans that wish to express their thanks for your organization and what you do for veterans. So I just wanted to get that point out there first. And as Harry alluded to, my connections are with the Vietnam War and the Vietnam era, and I think that some people feel that there was a lot of issues with the war, but I think that want to relay a little short story. My good friend's father was killed in Vietnam in 1966. He was a sergeant first class with the, he was an advisor, and back then, I think the family only got $10,000 from the, for life insurance and a small pension, and they had to sell their house, and then they had to, back then it was called Veterans Housing or Veterans Projects, and his mother had to work 2 jobs, and so organizations like yours today really can help and make a difference, and so I just wanted to get that out there, and I want to thank you for what you do, and recently I was in one of your excellent technicians area in Bellingham, Harry, with the moving wall.
Yes.
And even though, like you say, the wall in Washington D.C. is a lot more moving, but I was able to have a lot more time at this wall in the wall that came to Bellingham, and I found out that I never knew, but my friend's father actually, he was awarded the Silver Star and Bronze Star, and I didn't know that he had attained that. And then another friend of mine, his brother was killed in 1969. Harry can attest to back in 1968 and 69, an infantry soldier landing in a hot LZ in Vietnam. Life expectancy was approximately between 16 and 19 minutes, and he succumbed from Harry can probably talk to you later about what they call were bouncing Bettys, and he got passed from that. So, and I want to. I had 2 brothers that were also in Vietnam, and my second oldest brother saw a lot of action, and we still remember the day on December 15th, 1969, when the Army staff car pulled into our driveway, and he was missing and presumed dead, and but thank God that later he was found and he survived. But there's a lot of hard issues with the whole Vietnam era, and for those that are interested out there, they might want to view a movie called In Country, and it tells a lot about the the Vietnam Wall and the endeavors of some Vietnam era veterans going down to the wall and going with some family members. But that's also a nice movie, and I just wanted to express my thanks, and I appreciate all you guys do for the veterans, and I'm glad that your organization is around to help veterans and veterans' families. And I want to thank NCTV and your excellent show here tonight, Harry, and the excellent staff that put this on, and I just want to thank everybody for that.
All right, well, thank you for
Thank you.
calling, Barry.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
support.
Right? Yeah, I was saying earlier, the Korean War veterans waited a long, and now, I've been in the American Legion now for, almost 50 years. And thing is, we have very few, we have, I think about 3 or 4 World War II veterans left. It's so small, we pay their dues.
Wow.
And now we're starting to lose the Korean vet and the Vietnam vets. So time flies by, but the new war vets aren't really joining either. But it's good, that organization helped a lot of guys. But now they've got organizations like yourself, which is good because you need it. You really do. And these guys are coming home crippled, and I mean, the battlefield casualties that are there, a lot of them being saved that wouldn't have been saved 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. I mean, somebody's got these that are getting blown apart, and still, and they're able to keep them alive and piece them back together. It's just amazing. But you're going to need help the rest of your life, and you're not going to be normal again.
I was going to say that adds to the numbers of those experiencing experiencing PTSD
Yeah.
and traumatic brain injuries because we're able to preserve life.
Yeah,
People
that's
live with
the
these
other thing. A
invisible
lot
wounds
of those
war.
guys that died, if they had survived, would probably be facing some type of PTSD because it's a traumatic experience. It's a traumatic experience to have a car accident. Imagine getting hurt in combat, where you don't know if you're going to be saved. You don't know if anybody's going to be able to pull you off the field. If you're going to live through that firefight.
I think, one of the, when we start the year off, April or May, with my corporation, we all get together in our lunchroom and we watch the YouTube videos from home base. And I'm no expert at home base, like I'm pretty new at it, but it seemed to be there's almost like a trend where they come back, they become withdrawn, short-tempered, and eventually we lose so many, taking their own life. When I was trying to raise funds, raise sponsors, with each town that I visit and photograph, I'll put that up on that town website. And there happened to be an individual from Holden, and I just put that up on their website. And there was an individual who his brother had gone to Vietnam, and when he came back, he took his life. So he gave $25 in his brother's name. And it's so important to get the word out. I think when I was trying to raise funds and I was having difficulty, I put on like a website. I said, look, I've done this, I've done that. We hold parades and picnics for the veterans we have lost. I'm trying to save a couple. And it's important, and
Right.
every life is important. And so was it just rated the #1 program in the country for PTSD with service personnel?
I believe we were just rated the #1 psychiatry
Okay.
clinic
Yes, that
as
was
far as
in,
Mass General
in
Hospital.
PH.
Yeah.
Yes, and then Mass General Hospital is ranked #2 in the country.
What's unfortunate is you're here on the East Coast, and these veterans are all over the country.
Correct.
Right.
So you've got to make it somewhat difficult for you to get a home, right?
That is correct. We try our best to reach out to other organizations, veteran service organizations out in the West Coast. Camp Pendleton is the largest Marine Corps base.
Yes.
And then we have people out in Texas. That's a very big population of veterans out there. So we're trying to do our best to get our name out there as much as possible.
We also fall into the Warrior Care Network, so that's through the Wounded Warrior Program. We're one of 4 organizations that help treat PTSD. There's one out in UCLA, one down at Emory in Georgia, and then Rush up in Illinois, and we fall under this Warrior Care Network. So we do work with Wounded Warrior Project because they are nationwide, to spread the word of what we do.
Do you share notes on your types of therapy? So that,
Absolutely, yep.
because it changes all the time. You develop new ideas and get new concepts that work better than others, and the thing is that a lot of veterans are located around military bases because they're retired. They still have services that they can use, commissary services, PX services, but we don't have any military bases left
Right.
in New England.
Mhm.
We got National Guard bases, but that's about it. I mean, we had Fort Devens was a huge base.
Yeah.
It's no longer there. It's just a National Guard unit now.
I lived up in New Hampshire when Pease Air Force Base was
There's
active.
another one, yeah.
Yeah. And that was right around the time in the 1990s, the first Iraq War. I worked part-time at Sears in the warehouse, and my supervisor was an Air Force sergeant, and I worked with a lot of Air Force
Yeah.
personnel. And when they were shipping out, they were telling me about their preparation, the desert suits that they had to wear, how hot it was, how heavy they were, and
Well, that was the other thing, the first Iraq War. We had never done desert warfare. Well, we did, but that was
World War
back in
II.
World War II
yeah.
in North Africa. So this was a whole different ball game. In fact, that brought about GPS because these guys were ordering GPSs from home. You get out in the desert, and everything's the same. I can't make a right turn at that oak tree. There isn't an oak tree. There's nothing
No
there.
landmarks, yeah.
Yeah, so GPS was one thing that helped to save them. And of course, now the military uses it big time, but back then it was just getting started. But yeah, it was a whole different ball game for them.
Oh, yeah.
And plus, the dust and the sand, it's a whole different type of fighting in a whole different world. But now we've been doing it for so long. But this is we think about it now. We went into Afghanistan in 2001, and we're still there. We're almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't look like it's gonna end at all. They keep saying that we're getting closer, but it's a toll on. When I went in, and I admit it, look, they took me kicking. I got drafted. After I got in there, I didn't mind it, and I got out of the regular army and went in the Guard. But there again, back then, if you went in the Guard, you went to summer camp for 2 weeks. They did weekend drills once a month. Today, you get activated.
Yeah.
We have Guard members, people in the American Legion here that are Guard members, and they've been to Afghanistan, they've been to Iraq. We got members that are suffering from PTSD.
Nick is actually he's in the Guard now.
Yeah, so I mean, before you were home, now you're deployed.
Right.
I mean, it's a whole different game. And the other thing is we have a lot of women now.
It's true.
Where, when I was in a Guard, when we went to summer camp, I didn't see any women for 2 weeks. Now you're working with them, and they're out there in the combat.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so it's a traumatic change. What really irritates me more than anything, though, is the government should be doing much, much more. You come right down to it. You're serving them. And you do have some great benefits. You get some good educational benefits and things, but it's still, you're giving up your life. And today you don't even have to. I mean, if you're a male, you're still born with an obligation, but when's the last time someone got drafted? Nixon was president.
You know?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame today, and that's why I admire anybody who joins today, because you don't have to. So you're really doing, you might be doing it to get some of the educational benefits, but it's quite a sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I do what I do with my websites.
Yeah.
I was married at 19, so I never took the opportunity to serve my country. So this is one way of giving
Yep.
back, that all those names on those monuments, no matter what war it is, they must be remembered and preserved.
Yes.
And I
Because-
enjoy doing it.
It's the toughest. It was tough for me. I was 19 years old. Yeah, I turned 20 in basic training. I was 19 years old. I'm having a time of my life, man. I'm all done school. I got a good full-time job. I'm enjoying life. I'm dating and I'm just having a great time. And here, all of a sudden, hey, you're out of here. I really want to go. But I found that it did a world of good for me, because it taught me to live on my own. It taught me that I can do things that I never thought I could do, because you have to.
Now, you hear about the draft from Vietnam. People say they had low numbers. Is that basically how it was
I went
done?
before the numbers.
Oh, I see.
I went when they were taking everybody, 68. Well, they were taking everybody at the draft board who wanted to get rid of. Primarily, you had a draft board in a community made up of members of the community, and they would get a list of eligible men, and they'd say, okay, this one, this one, this one, this one. They make the decision. So if you were an influential person, you could get out of it. You didn't need a deferment. The draft board didn't take it. Then they saw that was happening, and they wanted to depoliticize it, so then they started taking everybody, and then you had to get deferment. Then it went over to where they picked your numbers, picking numbers, which they did in World War II. Well, prior to the U.S., the draft started about a year before we went into, got declared war in World War II. But they started building the military up. The military had very few members. They started building it up with a draft, but it was by number. It was a lottery, a draft lottery, and that came in again later on. So that's where if you had a high number, I guess you were safe.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But I had already gone. I had gone and come back, then went in the Guard. But like I said, I found it was a great experience for me, and so it actually did me some good. But still, it was, who knows if you're going to come back.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that I actually didn't go to Vietnam. I went to Germany because at the time, 1968, we had the Russians invaded Czechoslovakia. They were rioting in the streets in Prague. They wanted to get rid of this communist rule in Czechoslovakia.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a theory that what was going to happen was the Soviets would invade Eastern Europe, and because we were tied down in Vietnam, figuring here's our chance, they needed to increase the number of troops in Europe. And we were supposed to be a speed bump. We were told we were a speed bump to slow them down so we could get reinforcements in. And what happened to me, I was probably going to go to Vietnam. During basic training, I broke my right elbow. You had to do a run with a man on your back.
Oh, wow.
And I tripped. And still, that's why my right arm is a little bit shorter, because my elbow won't straighten out. The medic on scene said, oh, he's got a sprain, and he tried to straighten it out. When he did, I went to the roof of the ambulance.
I bet.
But then he said, oh, you'll be all right. I marched back with the rest of the company. Next morning, my arm was about 10 times the size it should be, but it was too late. It was swollen. He couldn't straighten it. So I had to do physical therapy, which got me back to use of my arm. And I got a VA number, but I never collected any money. So look, I'm a salesman. I don't need the money. I can write. As long as I can write, I don't have a disability. So I never. But what happened, then I got put on hold. I had orders for line engineer school in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Well, line engineers automatically went to Vietnam. Those are the guys that look for mines
Oh, wow.
and booby traps.
Yeah.
And you had a lifespan of about 5 minutes or something, I don't know. But ended up, I didn't go because I couldn't go because I was on hold because of my elbow. And they kept me in the basic training company that I was in as permanent party and trying to figure out what to do with me. And then when they had come near the end of 868, they had the people going to Europe. I got caught into that. And he sent me over there and put me in, made me a clerk. And that's where I did my time.
Oh, yeah. We just hired recently a new vice president at my company, and his office is right next to my cubicle. And so I talked to him a lot. He actually graduated from West Point in the mid-1970s. And like you, he
Yeah.
went to Germany
Yeah.
in the tank division. And so he's got a lot of interesting stories.
Oh, yeah, it was, I mean, they had a transfer request was called a 1099. And halfway, I was there for 18 months. After about halfway through, I said, okay, I can't take this anymore. It was spit and polish. In fact, our commanding general was, his name was Patton. He was George S. Patton III.
Wow.
He ended up retiring up up by Gloucester. I think of the name of town offhand now. He died about a few years back. But he was our commanding general. He had come from Vietnam, and they made him the commanding general in charge of support. So I was actually I was required to go to the ceremony for him getting his first star.
Wow.
But he was tough, just like his father.
Yeah.
Looked just like him too.
So was it the grandson of George
No, it was
Patton?
the son.
Okay,
His
because
son.
my
The grandson didn't serve.
Oh, okay. My cousin.
He wrote a good book, though.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. A cousin of mine graduated, I believe it was the mid-1980s, from Norwich University in Vermont.
Oh, okay.
And the
Yeah.
keynote speaker was George Patton Jr.
Yeah, Judge.
Oh.
He was my. That was the.
Wow.
Yeah, that was him, George Patton Jr., yeah, right, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking the third, no, he was, his son was the third.
Yeah.
Yeah. He lived in Hamilton, that's what it is, Hamilton, right up there on the, North Shore.
Oh, yeah. There's a George Patton Park with tanks, like,
Oh,
all
okay.
around.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a armor commander. He was a colonel in Vietnam. When he got to Germany, they gave him his first star.
Oh, wow.
But,
Interesting.
you know, we had to get out every morning and run with the battalion commander, because our battalion commander liked running. You know, and I was a young guy. I was in pretty good shape, but I wasn't into all that stuff. Had to be polished all the time, break starch all the time.
Wow.
So I said, yeah, I'd like to go to Vietnam. I was a young kid. If we face it, I was 20 years old. I turned 21 in Germany. I mean, do I want to be here? I'm hearing about these guys over in now, man. They get free beer. they get all
Drop
this
from hell.
marijuana.
Dropped from helicopters.
Yeah. Can't be that. And besides, I'm a supply clerk. You think I'm going to be in? I'm not going to be in the jungle. I'm going to be in the garrison area. You know, I said I wouldn't mind going there. You buy cheap electronic equipment. These are all good things they talked about. You know,
Yeah.
and you don't think about combat when you're young like that. You don't think about it.
Yeah, you see videos of the Tet
Right.
Offensive.
But they rejected me because when I put it in was at the same time that the My Lai incident had broken with the Americal division. You're familiar with My Lai? They went in and they wiped out the whole village.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And they said, well, you want to go there, you probably want to go there just to kill. So that was the attitude.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go there to kill, I want to go there have fun. This is too spit and polish for me here. But that was, I was maturing. When I got out, I matured a lot more. So that's why I went into the Guard, and I kind of enjoyed it, but then I had to get out of that because my full-time job, my boss was getting irritated. After the blizzard of '78, when I was gone for a month, you got to get out of here. But, yeah, I mean, it's great that they're doing this, that somebody's doing this. Because that wasn't around before.
No. One thing I was curious, as far as the home-based program goes, you can watch dozens of videos on YouTube, but maybe you can allude to, so a veteran, is feeling stressed and he needs some help or he's going to hurt himself. How does the process begin? Because from what the veteran that spoke, back in July, you have to be accepted into the program, correct? So how does that start?
Yeah, do you want to talk to this?
Sure. So the process begins either calling us on the phone or going on the website, homebase.org. You connect to CARE, just say, you basically give a small blurb on what you could be going through or looking for care or whatnot. You gave your basic information, your name, your phone number, your email, and a VOC like myself or Julie will be giving you a call. And basically we start with an info and intake. Basically takes upwards of 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. And from there, if you're local, you come into the clinic, you sit down to do an in-person eval. And from there, you get a phone call and you talk with a social worker or a clinician, and you start the process that way. Now, if that's what you want to go for the ICP, which is the intensive clinical program, that there's a certain waiting period and there's some other red tape, if you will, to get through for that. And then there is no specific waiting period. Right now, we don't really give out those numbers. But if it's outpatient, you just want to come in once or twice a week, you do your in-person eval, and then your clinician just sets you up from there.
Yeah, and that we do have, he mentioned being accepted into the program.
Yeah.
Sometimes people aren't in a place where they're ready to come for that type of treatment
That's
at 2
not-
weeks. So if they're not, our social workers will help refer them to resources in their area to help them do before care to get them possibly ready to come to us. So
Oh, okay.
sometimes that does occur, but we usually try to help set them up in the best way possible to seek care and then hopefully come into our program.
Oh, okay. And it's open to family members too, right?
Yeah, so there is a portion of our clinic is open to family members. We have a pretty loose definition of family. We have a 3-generation care model that we follow, so could be a spouse, could be parents, could be children of the veteran, but it could just be a girlfriend, boyfriend, or it could be your best friend. We understand that, you know, the definition of family isn't quite
Yeah, that's true.
totally defined, that you could find your friends are more family-like than your actual
Yeah, that's
family.
true.
So we, they can come in for care, and their veteran does not have to be seeking care at
Oh,
our
yeah.
clinic at the time either. And then in our 2-week program, the intensive clinical program that Nick mentioned, we do have a family component to it. Family members can come in for 4 days during that time, and we fly them in for free as well, put them up in a hotel, pay for all their meals as well. And yeah, they receive education and support on PTSD and traumatic brain injuries and understanding what their veteran is going through, and ways to do self-care for themselves as well, because they take on a lot of the burden of this experience as
Yeah.
well. So
And sometimes they can go through PTSD themselves.
absolutely, depression, anxiety from the
Yeah.
experiences that they have.
One of the most,
Is this for family members of troops that are KIA, killed in action?
We do work with the TAPS program. It's Tragedy Assistance Program. They're survivors of those who are either.
Right, because that can be traumatic too.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yep. We do run 2-week programs where we bring survivors of veterans in as
especially a
well.
wife who has, you know, have children and now they've lost their husband who was helping to raise the children. and-
Absolutely.
one of the most moving videos that they showed this year for us, there wasn't a dry eye in the place when it was done. Basically, the husband came back from Afghanistan, and as the cycle, you know, he became withdrawn, angry,
Yep.
and he took his life right in front of his wife.
Oh,
And so she went into the program to deal with that event.
yeah,
And it-
you can't know yourself unless you've experienced
Yeah.
how traumatic that is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so the program really helped her too. She got her life back
Yep,
from the therapy through home base.
God. What's a good way to get in touch with you? That's important.
Our website, homebase.org, you can go on there.
Very simple, homebase.org.
Yep,
Yes.
right there.
Yeah.
Right on the website, there's also a phone number
Oh,
to connect right to our front desk.
fantastic, the internet today, because it makes it so easy to find people and to find organizations like yourself now. And they can donate on the website?
They should be able to donate right on the website as well.
Yeah, so you don't have to wait for the run to home base.
Right.
You can donate ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll have information on there when you do your 5K or whatever. 5
Yes.
and 20, right?
9.
5 and 9.
And there's also other events throughout the year. There's a very good Facebook page about home base. So not only the Run to Home Base at Fenway Park, do they get involved with the Boston Marathon and certain other events throughout the year?
Yeah, we do a telethon around Veterans Day. So we.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. The telethon's on the net?
It's actually broadcast through, I can't remember the news station in Boston, but I think
Well, Channel 7.
I think it might be, or I thought it
CBB,
might
maybe
be.
Channel 5?
I think it was Channel 5.
Yeah, because at the opening ceremony for home base, there were a lot of Ed Harding.
Okay,
He
yes.
was there,
Yep.
and, yeah. so
Well,
I-
Channel 5 is the ABC affiliate,
Yes.
but they also have what is it, MeTV. They have several channels now with
Oh, yeah.
with the digital broadcast now, they have more than one channel. But you're probably on a Channel 5, the main channel.
It also gets broadcast in New Hampshire and Rhode Island too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know what TV stations those are, but
Okay, well,
WMER
Channel
maybe.
9 up in New Hampshire,
Yeah.
I think is an ABC affiliate.
Mm.
So they probably use the affiliate.
That's the other thing, I wanted to mention, that it is open not only to veterans, families from Massachusetts, all over the country, correct?
correct.
Absolutely.
Because they showed us one video with my New Hampshire website, Images of New Hampshire History. I have a page for home base to try to
link.
get support. And unfortunately, I haven't I wasn't able to get any sponsors, but, you know, I did have a link. It was a soldier who went to Afghanistan who was from Nashua, New Hampshire. So I wanted to show that it's not just a Boston, Massachusetts
Right.
thing. It's open, you know, to all over the country. And so the MLB connection, we have the Boston Red Sox home base, but is Florida the only other?
We do have a location in Southwest Florida.
Yes.
Yes.
I forget the name of the baseball team, but it's kind of like a Red Sox.
Well, Tampa Bay or,
Might be.
And it's the area, I think, where the Red Sox do their spring training.
Oh, yeah.
Is,
Yeah,
Is it Fort Lauderdale?
it might be, yeah.
But yes, yeah, they just opened their outpatient clinic
Oh.
just recently out down there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if it's not open, it will be shortly. And then they also do the Warrior Health and Fitness down there as well.
that's what they started with.
Yeah. But, I mean, getting the work out, and, you know, we want to thank you for bringing us on.
no, my pleasure, I'm glad to have you on. I'd like to get this information out. I think it's extremely important to get this help.
Yeah, because, I mean, that was the difficulty that I ran into. You know, having, you know, 90% of my sponsors, you know, from my immediate family, you know, with all the efforts that I did. You know,
Right.
handing out hundreds of information cards, putting on the websites. There was, you know, very little reaction.
Well,
And-
you know, there's so much fundraising going on by
Yeah.
so many organizations that it's tough.
Mm,
I think the big thing, if you can get corporate sponsors, is probably where you get the most money in a short period of time. But that can be tough too, because they're all getting hit.
yeah, it's true. So,
But you're fortunate that you do have the Boston Red Sox,
yeah.
Mass General both helping you out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important factor there. They must announce it on the games.
Oh, yeah, they
Yes.
talk about home base at the games,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because it started 10 years ago after, it wasn't the first World Series win,
It was 2007. Worlds.
2007,
Yep.
yeah. So that's what got the Red Sox, you can probably talk about it more.
Yeah, so after they won the 2007 World Series, the Red Sox went down to D.C. and they actually visited Walter Reed Hospital. So that's where a lot of service members who were
Yes.
serving in Iraq and Afghanistan would come back to recover.
Yeah, go through a rehab there.
Yes. So the Red Sox were supposed to just spend a couple hours there talking to some of the service members, spent a lot more time than they thought they would, and kind of left there feeling like, wow, there needs to be something done more than what's happening for these people. Because as they were speaking to the doctors, most of them were saying the need that's not being met is with these invisible wounds of war.
Yes.
So after that, Tom Warner and the Red Sox came back to Boston, and they partnered up with Mass General Hospital in the psychiatry department, and that's kind of how home base was formed for that.
Well, it's easy to feel compassion for someone you see have no limbs, but you don't see
Right.
that hidden, your psychological
Right.
damage that's been done, and tremendous psychological damage in these wars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really, because, you know, well, I think part of it is that the people that they're associated, they find they're not bad people. So, but they don't associate with the ones that they're actually fighting because they don't see them. So if you're in Afghanistan, the Afghanistan people seem like very good people and they're nice people, and also you're restricted to what you can do. So you're fighting a war under very restrictive circumstances. I mean, we have guys going to trial for murder because they killed a terrorist. Well, you shouldn't have killed the guy. Well, geez, you know, I mean, he was going to kill my unit.
Easier said than done, yeah.
Yes.
So what a psychological drain that's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's like we're saying, it's unconventional. Sometimes you don't know who the enemy is, so it's constant
Yeah.
vigilance. And
Yeah.
Yeah. But even when you find it, you know who he is, you got to be careful not to hurt him. You know, it's like being a cop. They go through the same thing.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's got to be a strain on you.
The rules of engagement have changed through the years, definitely.
Yes. They've gotten worse.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't want to hurt any innocents, but God, you know, sometimes you have collateral damage. But as we go on, we want to have less and less, and it's a strain on the poor guys that are out there in the front lines.
Yeah, from day one, you know, you have to worry, just going from place to place, you have to worry about IEDs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people who are booby trapped. So it's that constant stress that once you come back home, it's still,
Even friendly fire. We've had situations where guys were killed by their own people
Mm-hmm. Yep.
for in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't recognize them. It's a tough war.
yeah.
You really have no front line.
Exactly, right.
That's what makes it tough. It started with Vietnam, and it seems every war we've been in since now is no front lines. It's tough. I mean, even when we're fighting Iraq, when we're invading, they weren't sure what the front lines were at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
They were moving so fast. Okay, we'll get the website. We're down to the last minute here.
Okay.
I want to thank you for coming in,
Yes.
and
you.
we're going to have them on the radio show, by the way, on the About the Valley WCRN 8:30 radio show. But you'll be able. This will be linked.
Great.
Okay.
It'll be on our on-demand, but you'll be able to link it to your web page if you like.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
And I want to thank the three of you. And one more time, it's homebase.org.
.org,
Yes.
yes.
.org, O-R-G.
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to look them up, you can make donations on the site. You can find out what's going on.
Yep. There's a lot of great information.
A lot
There's-
of- Yeah,
yes.
and if you know anyone that needs some help, and that's part of the problem, is a lot of these guys don't want to admit it.
Mhm. We find a lot of the family members like, hey, it seems like this is a great program. Why don't
Yep.
you just give them a look-see? And we get that word a lot.
And we help all veterans, doesn't matter discharge status either.
Yes.
That's a big difference for us
Yeah,
as well.
regardless of your discharge,
Yep.
even if you got a
Correct.
dishonorable discharge for
Correct.
some
We will
reason,
help
and
you
look
out.
at
Don't
that,
discriminate.
that's between you and the military. We
Yep.
you don't care.
We'll take care of you.
Yep, we'll take care of you.
And the Rent a Home Base event kicks off around May, late May.
Well, we start to advertise more, but it's always, the run's always at the end of July.
I think the fundraising starts like late May, early
Late
June.
May, and we do have a early bird registration, so
Right, yeah.
if you register earlier, you get a lower fundraising rate that
Yeah.
you have to reach.
The months fly by.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do. They
Yes.
sure do.
The first thing you know, it's gonna be time, we'll be back to spring, we'll get through the winter and we're back in spring, and you're gonna start registering for the runs.
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the best part about this, because, I can take this link
Yeah.
next June, and I'm sure it'll help.
And what a
Oh my
nice,
gosh.
it's all through the city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing about walking and running in the city, it's fun because there's so much to see.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we gotta go, I'm getting the signal. So, we'll be back next week with, I'll mention next time. I forget who I was. We'll see you next week.